Hello, beautiful people. How are you doing? This is S. Anthony Thomas. This is the S. Anthony Thomas Show. No guest this time. It's you plus me, and that equals we. So let's do this thing. You know, the big story. Let's just jump right into it. Normally this episode would have already been out, but I was held up, and I like to record the show the day that it comes out if it's not a guest. And so I'm sitting down right now, and I'm recording this. It's around 8 o'clock at night. I'm recording this, and I turn on the computer, and all I see is a story about that influencer. I'm not even going to use her name. The influencer that was allegedly murdered her boyfriend, and all they show is this video of her in the elevator smacking him up and hitting on him and all that kind of stuff. And it goes, this influencer attacked her boyfriend in an elevator, and then soon after he was murdered. And, when you're watching the video, I mean, all I want to say is if somebody is hitting you, if somebody is actually putting their hands on you, hitting you, you got to go. You got to leave them. You got to get away. And I'll tell you why. Because, I'll be honest with you, I've been in a situation where the women I've gotten it on with in my entire life, all the girlfriends, I've only had maybe 2 women who struck me. Okay. And one I stayed with for a while, but I mean, that relationship was almost over to begin with. And and in both cases, I was accused of something that not only that I did not do, but that I have never done and never will do. It's not even part of. I was accused of cheating. I don't cheat. I've never cheated. I'd rather be by myself until I find a woman that I like. And when I find a woman that I like, not to be indelicate, I'm going to give her the business so good she thinks it's Christmas. You know what I'm saying? And just her. That's just the way I'm wired. My friends used to always get, hey man, the women you could be with, man. How come you never, I ain't saying you should cheat or anything, but there's a lot of women that like your little ugly ass. And I'm saying they're going, first of all, could you just say that women like me and without saying a little ugly ass? it's like, that's how my friends are. They're giving you a compliment, but they got to get a little dig in, when they're giving the compliment. I don't know why all those women want to get it on with your little goofy ass. Well, thanks a lot for the compliment, sir. I just want to let you know that our 30-year friendship is now over. The hell with you. Okay, back to what I was talking about. But when people put their hands on you, I never understood the concept because I don't even hit children. Even when I would have relatives that would leave, say they were going to the supermarket or they were going someplace for the day or they needed someone to watch their kid for an extended period of time, they would send the kid to me and I would watch the kids. I would watch my nephews or whatever. No big deal. And they would go, listen, if they act up, you, their uncle, their cousin, whatever my relationship was with the specific kid, you have the right to spank their behind if you want to. And I'm like, nah, I'm not really, I don't really like to do spanking. Well, I'm just saying, if you have to spank them, you can do it. And I don't spank kids. I've only tapped my nephew's hand once. The man's in his 30s now. I only tapped my nephew's hand one time when he was a kid, but he was literally trying to stick a needle, either it was a needle or penny into an electric socket at my house because I turned my head for a second. And he took a pen or some kind of little metal thing. I think it might have been a paper clip. And I didn't strike his hand or harm him. I was like, I'll hit his hand hard enough that he'll never forget it. I didn't do that. I did pop his hand, but the reason I swung to hit his hand was to knock his hand away from the electric circuit. It wasn't to smack his hand. And he was shocked because, like I said, I don't hit people. And they looked up at me like, what? You? What the hell? He was kind of shocked. And he looked up at me expecting me to be mad at him. And I said, listen. And I explained to him, look, little man. I said, look. And he was so young, I had to, you explain something to really young kids. I said, look, electricity is in the wall. And when you put the plug into the wall, the electricity goes up this cord and into the light. Now, electricity is good for light bulbs, but it's really bad for people. In fact, if you'd have stuck that in, that could have killed you. Okay, it would have hurt really bad, and you can't do that. And I don't want anything bad to happen to you. Okay. I said, so what we're gonna do, and I need you to remember this, even when you go home, unless your mom and dad tell you can plug something in, and only this plug like this, and I showed them the plug that can go into the electric socket because it's good for the light bulb. It turns the light on, but you can't stick anything else in there, and you should not touch a light socket unless your mom and dad say it's okay, right? So of course, over the course of the day, he's running around with the other kids. And he kicks the electric plug out of the socket and he comes up to me and he goes, hey, I said, yes, I did what you say. You say, don't plug in the light. I tripped and I pulled the plug out, but I didn't touch it. And I went, all right, good job. I'm glad you're thinking and I'm glad you're listening. And I high-fived him. Good job. Okay. Now, as you know, with kids, if you give them a compliment for doing something, they're going to make sure that that scenario happens as many times as possible so they can get that compliment as many times as possible. So over the course of the 4 hours he was at my house, the plug got accidentally kicked out about, 155 times. So he could come to me, let me guess, for the 94th time, the plug got accidentally kicked out of the wall. And you did not plug it back in. That's right. I did not plug it back in, just like you said. Okay, high five. Okay, how about this? Stop kicking the electric plug out of the wall because you're going to mess up the plug. Okay. Which of course led him going, I was running in the house. I mean, not running, but I stepped over the plug. So I did not kick out the plug, which of course happened 547 times. Here's your high five for not, okay, click. Okay, here's one big high five for all the times in the next, because your mom will be back in about an hour. For the next hour, how about I'm going to give you a high five right now, knowing you will not touch the plug or trip over it. Okay, so I'm just going to do this one high five this is going to cover the whole hour, okay? Okay, and that was the only way to stop it. I like to digress, as you know, back to what I was talking about originally. So she's fighting this guy in the elevator, and she winds up killing him. And what I would say is, like, I just told you the kid story because I was just to illustrate that I don't hit people. If you're in a situation where somebody's going to hit you, you got to get out of there, because what's the message you're sending? I'm upset with your behavior. So to let you know that I'm upset with your behavior, instead of walking up to you and going, hey, you did something that I don't like, and let's discuss why I don't like it, and let's hopefully figure out a way where either you can promise me and deliver on the promise of not doing that thing, or we can either, if it's something I can live with, I'll live with it, or we're just going to have to break up. See, that actually works because that's what adults do. Grown people, if you're not being paid by Dana White, should not punch each other in the face. Okay? Right? And then she goes on to kill the guy. Now, what I was saying was I was in a situation where I had a woman crack me in the mouth as hard as she could, and she was like 5'4", about 130 pounds. Right. And she thought that I was getting it on with someone. I was not getting it on with that person. And she calls the house, I'm on my way there now. And she sounded a little upset. And normally when she says, I'm on my way there now, it's more like, I'm on my way there now. And I already know. Well, there's no reason for me to have these pants on when she gets here, right? You know what I'm saying? Moving on. But she's like, I'm on my way over there now. And she was upset. And then she comes steaming into my place. Yeah, you a dirty mother jumping sassafras and Jehoshaphat, you rotten sassafras. I'm going, what? I said, the last time I saw you, you were climbing out of my bed happy and going home going, I can't wait to come back for some more of that. So when somebody climbs out of bed after you gave her the business so good, it's like she thought it was Christmas, and you see her walking away talking about, that was great, I can't wait to come back and get some more of that. You're thinking the next time she calls, she's going to be happy because she wants some more of that, but she was not happy. And I was definitely not going to be giving her some more of that based on the way she was behaving. She then proceeded to tell me how horrible I was as a human being, and how I'm going to pay for the tire that she messed up because she drove erratically coming to me because I did something. She scraped the tire, I look outside, the car's halfway up on the driveway. Mom said, what is wrong with you? And you jumping Jehoshaphat and sassafras. And she used lots of curse words. You sassafras and Jehoshaphat. She did not say sassafras and Jehoshaphat. You probably figured that out. Right? And she accused me of giving some other woman the business so good she thought it was Christmas. And I didn't do that. And I had to explain to her. Well, I tried to explain to her. It was more like, listen, what makes you think that ow? Because that's when she punched me in the face as hard as she could. And I looked at her. Because she was never the kind of person that there was no signs, which is why, that's how I know how Will Smith felt when, how Chris Rock felt when Will Smith slapped him in the face, because he wasn't expecting Will Smith to smack him over that joke. He wasn't expecting Will Smith to smack him at all. He thought it was going to be like a funny Oscar moment where he'd come up and do something funny with him. That's why he leaned in and smiling, and then he got smacked in the face. Well, I felt exactly the same way. This woman, remember the last time I saw her, she was naked and getting dressed and walking out smiling in her face, telling me, I can't wait to come back and get some more of that. So when she comes to the house, I'm not expecting her to punch me in the face as hard as she can, a sucker punch, when I'm kind of looking at the TV for a half a second because something came on that I was interested in. I probably should have kept looking at it, but I just looked away for a second. It's really not that big of a deal. Something caught my eye, not a big deal. back to the story. And I look at her, hey, that's what you get. And she's about to throw another punch. And I'm going, whoa. What are you doing? You punched me in the face? Are you crazy? What is wrong with you? I mean, did you punch your last boyfriend in the face? You know what? I don't care if you punch your last boyfriend in the face. And I'm hoping you don't punch your next boyfriend in the face, because there will be a next boyfriend. Well, so you're going to leave me now? I guess that's why you was with that. And then she used a word that rhymes with rich to describe the woman who I did not touch. And then you because it didn't make any sense after that. And the whole time I'm still looking at her like, I can't believe she punched me in the face. And I've never hit her. I've never even, only time I've raised my voice was, I was on top of her or underneath her or beside her. Well, you know what I'm saying. You get the picture. Yeah. Wow. Business so good. She thought it was Christmas. Right? And I'm trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with this one. Why did you punch me in the face? Well, it didn't like it was hurt you. It ain't like you fell down and like you didn't got a mark on your face. I said, yeah, I don't have a mark on my face because you're like 130 pounds. I've been hit by bigger people. But what I'm saying is, but what did you expect to gain from punching me in the face? Was I supposed to go, wow, now that, you know what, honey? Now that you punched me in the face as hard as you could when I wasn't looking, a behavior that is socially unacceptable and unacceptable in any relationship involving me, I now see the error of my ways, and I'm going to stop having intercourse with women behind your back. I didn't realize that you disapproved of me nailing other women, but now that you sucker punched me in the face, I can now see my error. And I vow to you, so I don't get punched in the face again, to never put my stuff inside of other women's stuff and give them the business so good they think it's Christmas. Is that what you wanted? Well, let me tell you something, honey. I never touched anybody else. I've never cheated in my entire life. I never have. I'm not now, and I never will. That's not who I am. I don't do things like that. Well, what about the and that bitch? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse, but you know what I'm saying. She said that word, right? And I'm going, okay. What woman are you referring to? Well, another thing with the day with the bed. And I said, oh, okay. So when was this supposed to have happened? Well, you were there, but you big. Oh, so it was really okay. Let's walk into my my office area. I want you to look at the calendar. Now, what date was I supposed to have given that other woman the business? Well, it was at and find the date on the wall calendar. Okay, let me sign because Oh, I was not anywhere near where she said I was. I had proof that I was not anywhere near that place. And in fact, I had never physically come into contact with the woman she's talking about. Did I know who she was? Yes. Did I know her by name? Yes. Did she know me by name? Yes. But we had met briefly, and literally, when we met, it was like a conversation from like across the room because she was doing something. Hey, nice to meet you. Hey, all right. Yeah. Okay. You take care now. You could dust her for prints and you won't find any of my prints. And she realized she was wrong. And she began to profusely apologize for sucker punching me in the face. But sometimes obviously it didn't go as far as that because that woman is accused of murder, the influencer that spurred this episode. But the thing is, there's certain things that a person can do where even if they apologize afterward, even if they promise to correct the behavior, even if you don't think it'll ever happen again, you do realize that at some point you have to look at the people around you and realize that there are certain behaviors that are in the menu, meaning that even if they're way down the list of things that they're willing to do or are capable of doing, you now know it's on the list. If you're in a relationship with me, whether it would be a homeboy or whether it's a lady that I'm dating or a lady that I'm getting it on with, giving her the business so good she thinks it's Christmas. If you look at the list of acceptable behaviors, punching my woman, slapping my woman, hitting my woman in any way that's aggressive or with the intent to cause injury or harm, it's not on the list. I've had a couple of women do some really horrible things to me during the course of my time and made me angry enough where if it was a dude, there was a possibility if I had felt that level of anger, the possibility of me cracking the dude in the face was there. It's a very slim possibility because, as I said, I don't hit people unless they try to hit me first or they're trying to hit somebody that I care about. And so far down the list that I wouldn't even really worry about it. But when it comes to women, it's not on the list at all. But I now know with this particular person hitting me based on hearsay, which was not even close to accurate and was not researched. Now, if she had come into the house and screamed at me and said, "I can't believe you," and cursed me out, I would have said no. I would have gone through the same process and proven that I had not been unfaithful. And I would have not thought much of it because it was just words, depending on what the words are, obviously. But on her list of acceptable behaviors, the fact that she actually hauled off and hit me as hard as she could with a punch to the face means that that's acceptable behavior. She's done it already. And sometimes, like I said, when somebody does something, and sometimes even when they say something, it's a tentpole moment in your relationship with that human being. And there's a part of you that knows that you can't feel the same way about that person again because you know that they think hurting you physically is acceptable on some level. Now, did I break up with her immediately after that? No. I probably broke up with her. I don't remember whether it was a couple of months or a few weeks later. I'm not stupid. I still got it on with her that day. I still gave her the business so good it was Christmas a few hundred more times. Don't judge me. I'm better now. I would have just ended it at that moment. If it happened to me now, I would just look, you hit me in the face. Nah, we're done. And that would have been the end of it. But back then I was a lot younger and she was, yum. So that was a bad choice on my part. But when I saw the person hitting that lady, that influencer hitting her boyfriend in the elevator, just like the girl that was hitting me, was she a physical threat to beat me up? No. She punched me as hard as she could in the face without me even knowing it was coming. And it stung a little bit, but it was just a mere annoyance, right? But if what they said is true about that influencer that killed her boyfriend, when I saw her hitting him, like I said, it was just a mere annoyance to the guy. She wasn't harming him in the elevator. But that doesn't mean that the person can't shoot you later on or stab you when you're sleeping or poison you. They've already opened up the Pandora's box of injury and violence. And when someone opens up the Pandora's box of injury and violence, you got to get the hell away from that person immediately. I can't accept that. So if you're in that kind of situation, if somebody's hitting you or hurting you or harming you or punching you or kicking, if you can get away as quickly as possible. I know it's difficult in many situations. You may be in a house with some children or what. I know that. But if you're in a situation where you're dating someone, because like I said, in a marriage relationship where you have children and you're financially tied, it's a lot different and you need professional help with that, find professional help in your area to try to help you facilitate that. But if you're dating somebody and they start that crap, you got to get away. How many times do we have to turn? There was a story in my hometown where a woman got murdered by her boyfriend in a van. I mean, her boyfriend or husband. I can't remember if it was her boyfriend or husband. Got murdered in the van and she had a protective order against that person. And to the people that feel it's acceptable to hit someone, if you love someone at some point, how can you hit a person that you love and cause injury? How could you hit your woman, man? How could you hurt your woman? How could you hurt your dude? The few times I had to whoop somebody's behind was another dude who had attacked me first. And when during the altercation, it became apparent that I had the upper hand, the permanent upper hand in the altercation, I tried my best to end it as quickly as possible, but the person kept coming. And I'm like, I don't want to hit you anymore, man. It's over. And after whooping this dude's ass, I felt bad. And he was trying to attack me. He made me whoop his behind. I told the story, I don't know whether it was on this podcast or my other podcast, where I was in school and I was being bullied by, I think it was like 4 dudes, and they would beat me up all the time. And the part that annoyed me was the simple fact that they were attacking me on a regular basis, but they weren't injuring me. It would hurt. I would get like injury and I'd be a little bruised up, and they were smart enough to hit the body and not the face, right? And I literally got to the point where I was like, you know what? They're not injuring me, and they usually beat me down, and then they go about their business. And I acquiesced to the beating. It's this thing that really still irritates me to this point now, where I was going to go, well, they're not injuring me, so I'll just let them beat me up, and I'll go about my business. And it annoys me even to this day. And even though that was 1.5 million years ago, that I acquiesced to the beatings. And then one day, they started going, and I talked about this in my other podcast, I think. One day they decided to go a little crazy, and they were literally trying to injure me at one point. You know, sometimes when the feeding frenzy of violence starts, you even see it in professional fights when the guy's knocked the guy out and he's still hitting the guy and the referee's trying to pull him off and he's still punching the guy. Dude, you won the fight. Why are you still hitting? Once that frenzy starts, sometimes it doesn't stop. And that's how something that's going to be a punch or a fight turns into a stabbing or a shooting. It shouldn't have even started, let alone getting to that point. And these guys were trying to injure me. And I had just acquiesced. I just, in my mind, mentally accepted being beaten up, and they still wouldn't stop. They were trying to injure me, and that made me so angry. And if you listen to my other pods, you know that during the course of a short period of time, I made it a point to put myself in a position where I was around them as individuals. And I knew, because they had been beating on me so long, that they would try to attack me even on an individual basis, and I whooped their asses individually. Which was a bad move. I probably should have told my parents, probably should have told somebody and asked for help, and it became a thing, right? And I don't want to get into the whole story, but, you know, you just go listen to my other podcast. It's on there. I don't want to go through the whole thing again. It resolved itself eventually, but it was a lot of stuff that went involved with it. But the thing was, they went from beating me up to trying to injure me. It doesn't stop. It just keeps getting worse. So if you're in that kind of situation, you know, and you can get away, please get away. And if you find yourself feeling like you want to strike the person that you love and hit the person that you love and beat up the person that you love, if you got to get some help, because you're going to wind up hurting somebody that you care about. You're going to wind up hurting somebody that you care about. And you don't want to do that. You really don't want to do that. So, folks, I want to thank you guys for coming back. I know I got a little serious on this episode. I do that sometimes. Sometimes I'll have a serious episode. It is what it is. Comics and comedians and writers and podcasters and people like that, we have serious moments too. And sometimes when we experience something or we see something, we know that you're listening out there. We know that you pay attention to what we say, and we know that you got to know that, you know, you're listeners, and I'm glad that you listen to me, but I actually care about what happens to you too. You know, we're kind of like an extended family. You give me the honor of coming back and listening to me talk all the time, and I appreciate that, okay? So, do me a favor, my friends. Now that you've come back, if you like this podcast, do me a favor. Rate and review this podcast. Hopefully 5 stars. 5 stars, please. And tell other people about the podcast. If, like I said, if you like this podcast, you know, share it on social media. Okay, let people know about the podcast. I would really, really appreciate that. I appreciate you guys coming back and listening. I do. But I would also appreciate it if you can share this on social media. If you could, you know, send people back to the podcast, write some reviews and all that kind of stuff. That would be really great. But most importantly, keep coming back. Much love to you all, and I will see you again next time. Take care. Much love to you.